You'd have to be pretty dumb to be critical of a team that just had its championship repeat dreams dashed in the second round and who just lost its best player for at least a year in the wake of one of the more devastating injuries a professional athlete can suffer. I am that dumb. The Celtics' future is fraught with uncertainty. When is Tatum going to come back? What's he going to be like when he does return? What do the Celtics do with their roster in the interim? And what kind of bearing will the recent sale of the Celtics have on those uncertainties? And of course, Tatum's injury itself is an abject travesty for anyone who cares about basketball. It's a pretty understood fact that this incarnation of the Celtics will not be returning. This era of Celtics basketball is effectively over. Kicking them while they're down this bad feels superfluous. But I do feel like there are some things that aren't getting said that are worth saying before our memories of this story get set in stone. Before getting too fixated on the future, I, as ever, want to look back and make sense of what happened. Let's start by saying the quiet part out loud. Jayson Tatum's injury in Game 4 had very little bearing on the outcome of the series. That sucks to say because the game wasn't over and Tatum was having the game of his career. He'd scored 42 points, brought down 8 boards, and was trading blows with Jalen Brunson in a duel quickly building toward legend. But the turnover that preceded Tatum's injury led to an OG dunk capping off an 11-2 run that extended New York's lead to 9 with just 3 minutes to play. Factors that gave the Knicks about a 96% chance to win the game, according to Unpredictable. Is there a chance that a healthy Tatum could have snagged victory from the jaws of defeat? If these playoffs have taught us anything, yes, it was possible. Is it possible that, had he not gotten hurt and the Knicks still won Game 4, the Celtics could have come back from down 3-1? Technically, yes. But the Celtics technically could have won Game 4 without him. They technically could have come back from 3-1 without him. For the purposes of a Boston series win, all Tatum's injury did was make the implausible impossible. Because in the context of that series, watching it in the moment, it felt like there was no way that the Knicks were going to let the game or the series get away from them. They'd already rallied from a 14-point deficit in Game 4 and had come back down 20 in Games 1 and 2. The Celtics didn't lose because Jayson Tatum got hurt. They lost. End of sentence. And Jayson Tatum had a decent hand in it. Make it make sense. How did a team who, last year, had a wire-to-wire championship season that had folks wondering where they sat on the list of all-time great teams, come back to defend the title, casually win 61 games, then lose in the second round in embarrassing fashion with effectively the same roster? Because of three-point luck? Or because Kristaps Porzingis was hurt? Is that what we're going to chalk it up to? In Games 1, 2, and 4, the Celtics made just 29% of their 148 three-point attempts. By the way, this Knicks series saw the Celtics' highest three-point attempt rate for a single playoff series in franchise history. I know teams can shoot poorly. It's a make-or-miss league, and three-point variance has never had a more profound effect on the outcome of games. And KP's absence was undoubtedly a blow to Boston's rotation. But you can't have it both ways. You can't say, oh, well, the lid was shut on the baskets and KP wasn't right, so they never stood a chance. Boston still built leads. And when the Knicks applied pressure, they wilted. No adjustments, no resilience, no recollection or resolve. They had a chance to win both of those first 2 games in Boston. And they failed. To chalk those losses up to the abacus of the basketball gods, the providence of some insensitive coin flip, is an insult to the Celtics, and it denies them the agency that made them great champions. It looked like they'd exercised all their demons last year. They were the better team, the deeper team, with the most purpose. They made the right decisions and stayed out of their own way. And all of those demons and critiques, being a little soft, a little too much hero ball theatrics from their stars, the fact that they can fall into front-runner tendencies and have a tragically heavy reliance on the three-point shot came rearing back in full force and in crystal clear 4K definition. I don't feel totally comfortable calling Game 4 a collapse. Yes, the Knicks came back from down 14, but they were scorching. Brunson was unconscious and Tatum showed up and played his heart out. Let's call it a really tough loss. The first 2 games were collapses. Tatum and Brown combined to shoot 31% from the floor in those games. Both winnable, both in which they were up by 20. Boston became the first team to blow 2 20-point leads in a single postseason. and they did it in the same round in back-to-back games as defending champions at home. As brutal and unfortunate as Jayson Tatum's injury is, this playoff exit is one of the more underwhelming title defenses in recent memory, brought on by one of the biggest choke jobs this decade. It just is. I know, that was harsh. I hope it didn't come off as too insensitive. I don't mean to be a facts don't care about your feelings guy. Did I mention that I love clam chowder and The Departed? Or did I mention that the sponsor of today's video is Kalshi? Kalshi gives you the chance to trade on whether something will or won't happen thanks to their new CFTC approved financial product, Event Contracts. With it, you can use your knowledge and insight to trade on all kinds of things. Because you're trading and prices are set by where people are putting their money, you end up with a really interesting way to view sentiment. Before the final started, I took a look and saw what I would have thought. Oklahoma City, a heavy favorite. Something happened against Denver that turned OKC into a juggernaut. Yeah, there's sports, yeah, there's politics, but there's also who's gonna win the Nobel Peace Prize, which songs will hit 100 million streams on Spotify this month, and will Elon Musk and the Zuck fight this year? Kalshi is the first and only federally regulated prediction market in the US. It's legal in all 50 states and also live on Robinhood if you're looking to try it out. They're offering $10 to anyone who signs up using my link, kalshi.com/Crowley, and trades $100. That's kalshi.com/Crowley for your last chance to check it out before the season ends. Eras rarely end poetically. Don't forget that the core of this team was put together thanks to assets the Celtics gained by trading away Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce. This period of Celtics basketball might be remembered as much for the questions they left unanswered as they do for all the winning. At a certain point, that kind of feels like their identity, a lack of definition, never being a known quantity. Organizations often take on the traits of their leaders, and the C's are no different. The qualities they embody are the same ones that Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum possess. Jayson Tatum is amazing. There are not 5 better basketball players alive. And he's the weirdest star in the game today. A 5-tool player that has a reputation for lacking it. He can shoot, he can drive, he can draw fouls, he can pass, he can defend, he can rebound, and obviously until now, he was always available. He can have big games, he can defer, he can find his spots. He won a championship. He has all of the things, but he is dogged by a persistent questioning of his itness. There is always some illusory next level for him to go to. What is the it that he supposedly lacks? I don't know. It's not the kind of thing that can be defined. That's why it's called it. You know it when it's there, and you notice it when it's not, even if you can't pinpoint exactly what's missing. It's like a song without a bass line, a meal without salt, the love of a woman without so much as a landing strip. As much as Boston fans may cringe to hear it, Tatum is a lot like his idol, Kobe Bryant. Game and tendencies aside even, in the fact that there is no more polarizing player in the NBA. He is constantly lionized, to the point of being overrated by his supporters. The ones who tell us, no, he really is that good. He really is a superstar. He is on the same level as Jokic, Giannis, and SGA. At the same time, he gets criminally underrated by his critics, the ones who believe that there is nothing remarkable about his game and that he is only the beneficiary of what was a homegrown super team. They'll tell you that in any other situation, on any other team, Tatum would be just another good player. Who's right? Well, he is one of the best players in the world, and he would be if he played anywhere else. He's made 4 straight All-NBA first teams and has played more playoff minutes at this point in a career than anyone ever has outside of Larry Bird and Horace Grant. But his career rivals the Department of Defense in its ability to provide ammo to both sides. Just in the last few years, against the defending champion Bucks, Tatum kept the team's season alive in Game 6, knocked them out in Game 7, and led the team to the finals, where he had the worst playoff series of his career. The next year against Philly, he scored the most points in a Game 7 in NBA history, only to lose to the 8-seed Heat in the next round. He won a frickin' championship, but he had brutal shooting numbers and wasn't the finals MVP. Not to mention the quote-unquote aura farming, his Olympic participation trophy, or this Knicks series. But he's only the largest part of this puzzle. Brown is the other piece, a player who is similarly hard to pin down. He does a lot of good things. He's an excellent defender, uber athletic. He's got great touch around the basket and has improved as a playmaker every year of his career. He was also the most consistent, dependable player against the Mavericks and won the damn Finals MVP. Lots of good stuff, mostly good stuff in fact. But he does have some holes. Not the niche, rarely exploited kind of holes. The glaring AVN award-winning kind of holes. He's never been a super efficient scorer. He possesses maybe the most inconsistent three-point shot of any player of his caliber in the league, and he struggles to dribble the basketball? I know he was playing through injury in these playoffs, but the players are often the ones to point out that in the playoffs, everyone's dealing with something. Brown's shooting splits against the Knicks were atrocious, and he averaged 3.5 turnovers a game, including 7 in their Game 6 loss. The two have always been an imperfect pairing, well-rounded enough to make up for or mask each other's deficiencies, but not so complementary that their talents synergized and elevated each other. A little more like the diet version of LeBron and Wade than Michael and Scottie. They always looked a little better together on paper than they did in practice. Of all the qualities that the team picked up from their stars, that one might be the one that endures the most. So, who's gonna ask the question first? You or me? Who's gonna use the D word? I guess I will. If this is the end of the Celtics run that started in 2017 when they drafted Tatum and went to the conference finals, did they live up to their promise? Or is there some disappointment there? You'd have to ask a Celtics fan to get a real answer. And this is where it might still be a little too soon to really dial it in and get a good answer. I mean, back-to-back 60-win seasons, 6 conference finals in 9 years, 2 finals appearances, and a title? Just about every franchise in the association would take that. But the Boston Celtics are not every franchise. They're the winningest team in basketball history. The bar is high. History weighs heavy in Boston. Every generation that shows promise there is expected to do something special. Cousy and Russell did it. So did Havlicek, Bird, McHale, and Parrish. You could litigate the run of Pierce, KG, and Allen, but they had their share of special. They engineered the biggest year-to-year turnaround ever, got a championship win over the Lakers, and came up about 2 minutes shy of a second one. The organization got the hard part right with this team. It was billed as the most successful rebuild ever, a rebuild that never had to bottom out. The complementary pieces kept coming in and out, the team stayed winning, and the frays around the edges started showing. Finally, they looked like they'd gotten everything straightened out at the perfect opportunity, ready to capitalize on a period aching for a signature team. They won a title and reasserted the Celtics as the most decorated franchise in the sport. No small potatoes, but the quest for special seems to lie in the repeat. Defend the title, stake a claim as the team of their time, and become the first NBA team since 2018 and the first Celtic team since 1969 to repeat as champions. They didn't get there. Maybe this Celtics era is a victim of their own potential. I mean, the Heatles went to 4 straight finals and went back-to-back, and I still think it's a widely accepted belief that they weren't everything they could have been. Maybe disappointment here is too strong a word. So is underperformed. But whatever the over-under was on the number of championships that these Celtics would have won in the last 8 years, I think they hit the under. They didn't get to that level of special that the parquet floor warrants. Or at least, they haven't yet. There is some good news. This glass can be half full, because the Celtics are still the Celtics. Brad Stevens is still a genius, even in the wake of new team ownership, even as they have to prepare to part ways with some combination of Porzingis, Derek White, Drew Holiday, and or even Brown. Boston still has some of the best infrastructure in basketball, right up there with the Thunder, Warriors, and Spurs. Playoff heartbreak, even collapses and choke jobs can be overcome. Dennis Johnson and Dirk Nowitzki did it. Teams can be rebuilt around superstars. Look at Kobe Bryant and Hakeem Olajuwon. But doing all of it, combined with an Achilles injury, Jayson Tatum and the Celtics will have to forge a new precedent. To return to championship form around him would be an entirely new comeback, the likes of which the NBA has never seen before. How is that good news? Because an opportunity now exists for Jayson Tatum, often accused of being unoriginal and of mimicking the great players before him, to do something that no one has ever done. Doing that wouldn't just elevate him into the final echelon of players today. It would cement him as one of the greatest players to ever play the game and reserve a spot of honor in the inner circle of Boston Celtics legends. The odds are stacked against him. If anything, this injury and the prospective end to this era illustrate the lesson as old as competition itself. It is damn hard to win. You have to care, you have to be good, you have to be together, and you have to be lucky. They'll have to do it all again, under a dramatically different team-building apparatus, faced with true crossroads, and a star player who will miss a year of the very prime of his career. Comebacks are fun in hindsight. We know how the story ends. Of course Dirk redeemed himself and won it all in 2011. Of course the Cavs came back against the Warriors. Of course David beat Goliath. Those are histories, parables. The retelling of those stories, the emphasis of the depth of the fall or the overwhelming odds seems appropriate because we know the outcome as if it were always inevitable. But in the moment, it sure doesn't feel inevitable. At the bottom, it seems very deep. That's the part of a comeback, though. You can't come back unless you fall down first.